wabarakatuh. My name is MEC294 Lab. My student ID is 2019270412. I am from J4M1104H small group H2, and today I will show you my lab report, which is impact of a jet. Okay, first of all, the objective of the experiment is to measure the reaction force produced by the impact of a jet of water to the various target various surface. Next is to investigate and determine the force required to keep a target at a datum level while it is subjected to the impact of a water jet. And lastly, to compare and analyze the experimental result with the theoretical calculated values. Now we go to the safety precaution. First of all, wearing a lab coat. Next is wearing a mask and safety gloves to avoid from any injuries. And lastly, clean the workplace after finish the experiment. So for the procedure, first of all, open the wet platform by unscrewing the screw nut and screwing the wing nut. Next is attach the 5mm nozzle onto the bottom vertical shaft and hemisphere target vane onto top vertical shaft. Next is close the wet platform by unscrewing wing nut and screwing the screw nut. And for the fourth, position the weight carrier on the wet platform. And step number 5 is adjust the spring tension adjuster to ensure the distance of 20mm between the nozzle and the target vane by first pressing the spring until the target vane touch the nozzle. Next is move the pointer so that it is aligned to the weight platform. And next is release the spring and adjust the spring tension adjuster to ensure distance between weight platform and the pointer is 20mm, and then record the value as h. Next is then move the pointer so that it is aligned to the weight platform that is floating in mid position. Next is turn on the pump and establish the water flow by steadily opening the bench control valve until it is fully open. Next is the target vane will now deflected by the impact of the jet. Add weight onto the carrier until the weight platform is again floating in mid position. Bracket mid platform aligned with pointer. Next is measure and record the flow rate together with the corresponding value of weight onto the weight carrier. Then observe the form of the deflected jet and note its shape. Reduce the weight on the weight carrier in steps and maintain balance of weight platform by regulating the flow rate for a few steps, each time recording to value of flow rate and the weight on the weight carrier. For the step 13, close the control valve and switch off the pump, and lastly repeat the experiment with different target vanes and nozzle. Now we go to the table and graph. This is table that I already filled. There are 8 tables of all in this experiment, and this is graph that I already made from Microsoft Excel. This is graph number 1, graph of experimental force against theoretical force, and graph number 2, graph of force against weight nozzle size 5mm, and lastly graph of force against weight nozzle size 8mm. And this is my sample calculation to the whole experiment. There are 8 calculations, and first we go to the table that I already calculated. Go to the table number 1, the T1 that we got in. table 1 that I already filled, and for the rest, all of you can see my table in my report. And lastly, we go to the conclusion. To conclude, the objective of this experiment is achieved. The higher we apply force, the greater the theoretical value we got. The graph we obtained through the result shows the relationship between theoretical and experimental force are directly proportional. However, the value of theoretical is greater than experimental value. This is because of the errors we got during the experiment. One of the errors is parallax error. It occurs while we adjust the level gauge to the point at white line on the side of the weight band, and we can record the flow rate value. This will affect the weight that we apply to the data at manometer will not accurate. Next, the instrument error of the stopwatch and the way we stop the time may not simultaneously. Last, there must be a loss of water as we gather it in the tank. All of these errors have affects the value of flow rate that we should get, thus make the theoretical value bigger. To prevent those errors from occur, some precautions should be taken during the experiment. We should make sure our eyes is perpendicular with the reading scale. We also should use two stopwatch and take average value from them. All the equipment should be checked before we start the experiment. As for recommendation, we should consider that the force in the spring may absorb the reaction force from the water jet. As for safety precaution, we should make sure that no over-tight the knuckle screw, as it may damage the plate and results in dangerous occasion to happen. Last but not least, we were able to study and know the application to relate to this experiment. We also know the concept of impact of check. We also know that the higher the flow rate, the bigger the energy we get. We also able to compare the experimental and the theoretical value of force S. I think that's all from me. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.